There's only one poll that matters. Robert Lewandowski. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello, and welcome to the fourth of our daily Election Week Non-Censored podcasts. And it's finally here. Election Day. Now, Ofcom are very clear on what you can and cannot broadcast while the polls are open, but luckily, Ofcom don't regulate podcasts, do they, Producer Martin?
Technically, no, they don't, but I still think it's probably...
Excellent news for freedom of speech. Anyway, as you can hear, Producer Martin is here, as is Eshaan Akbar. Eshaan, it must be very exciting for you to watch people voting, as I believe it's not part of your culture.
What? I've voted. What? I'm English.
You voted?
Yes.
Are you allowed to do that?
Well, yeah, of course. Why did you think I wasn't allowed to do that?
Harriet, I think we may have been through this.
And by the way, can I just say, if it is
paperwork.
If it's because I'm South Asian, I just want to remind you, South Asia collectively has got the world's largest democracy.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well done you. Just don't let anyone catch you, okay?
Right.
We are also joined for one final message by the Prime Minister at the time of recording, Rishi Sunak. Prime Minister, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Harriet. Perhaps I shouldn't get too used to that title. Pretty soon, I'll just be a regular second-term Prime Minister.
Oh, Rishi, are you resigned now to defeat? Is that what's going to happen?
I am resigned to success. I'm optimistic for failure. It could go any way, and that any way is just one way. And I think we all know which way that's going to be.
It must be an exciting time for you because not winning elections or not winning votes is very much part of your culture, right?
In many ways, I like to think of my culture as a Southampton football club, and yes, we don't win very much, so I suppose that does check out.
Oh, a football analogy. I do enjoy one of them because I just don't get them. How badly do you think, Prime Minister, that you are going to lose? You've been saying in recent days that we must stop the supermajority. How bad is this supermajority going to be?
Well, there's really no way to tell. The polling is inconclusive to this point because as many polls as they put out, they cannot be the poll that is the poll, which is today's poll. But a supermajority, while it won't happen because I'll be voted back in, it's not very good because it means that Labour will have the majority and they'll be able to outvote anything that anybody else wants. And that's not very good. Speak to anybody who's been in the country for the last 14 years.
Are you worried that Keir Starmer is not going to be satiated with just one election? He's going to want to win more.
That's correct. It is very concerning. It's alarming because I think not everybody is thinking through that. Keir Starmer is if he wins this election, he will have won.
Wow!
And once one wins one election, what's next? 2, 3?
Oh God! Yes.
4? Surely,
you wouldn't know because you've never won an election.
Well, it was more of a moral victory for me, a spiritual victory as well, and a technicality. All very fair ways to win, as we say over at the old Southampton ground.
Well,
what is the Southampton ground? What is it called?
It's a football ground. It's a sort of just the same as all the rest of them, really. 4 corners, 2 goals, and more importantly, referees.
How many referees?
That sounds correct to me.
It depends. It depends on how many pints you've had. But of course, 6 linesmen and 2
6.
part-time referees.
Prime Minister,
Right.
I have to ask, the whole situation at the moment feels very much for you like the film Titanic.
Oh.
Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are the iceberg. You are on the ship, the ill-fated ship, once thought to be unsinkable, now clearly for the grave. My question to you
Just
is,
quickly, why the
wait,
film
no.
and not the actual Titanic itself?
well, because I was watching the film
He's got an
last night,
important question.
and I feel like it's just important. Thank you, Eshaan. I have some political journalism to do here. We do it occasionally.
Yes.
Prime Minister, my question to you is: are you Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, or Billy Zane in this situation? Who do you think you are? Because Billy Zane,
that's very,
he's
good
he's
fun.
often people think he's the bad guy, but I think he has a great turn, and he's got the jewel. He put the jewel in the pocket. He put the coat on the girl, didn't he? I mean, it's not a comedy strictly, but
Yeah.
is there a band playing?
I do have a soft spot for Leo DiCaprio. I think he's fantastic in the Wolf of Wall Street. That one was him.
Yes.
Fight Club, was that was him?
No,
think
that
he
was
in
that was
No,
Brad
it's
Pitt.
yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. And EastEnders.
No, that's Ross Kemp.
I see. Yes. I like to think, not to flatter myself, perhaps, but I think I could do a solid pitch for Leonardo DiCaprio, rakishly charming, perhaps, if people think so.
And you are Dishy Rishi after all.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's a very kind of people to say. I'm not, perhaps not too sure about it myself.
Well, actually, Prime Minister, no one uses that anymore, do they? No one calls you Dishy Rishi anymore. Where do you think your dishiness went?
I think you know what? I put my dishiness aside for the job.
Wow.
It's a hard job. It has aged me. These days, I
Yeah.
look more 19 and a half than I do 14. But I'm happy to be aged more. I'll stay in this job for 5 more years. I'll lose all my hair and 3.5 inches off the top of my head, and that's fine. I'll do that.
Wow.
And Prime Minister, if I may just push on for one moment with this rather torturous analogy, what would the band be playing for you as you go down on the Titanic? Because, famously, they stuck around right to the very end. And, you announced the election with Things Can Only Get Better, booming in the distance. So what would be your swan song?
And I'd like to know what your final meal would be on the Titanic.
Oh, yes, wonderful,
all
wonderful.
right.
And I'd like to know what your final proclamation would be before you drowned.
Oh, yeah, last
all
words.
right,
Oh, this is what... Okay, so it's song, meal,
Yes, before
and
you
last
you
words.
fall into the watery deep.
Yes.
I'm beginning to worry that you might have some information I don't.
No, we're just very good at our job. We're just very good journalists.
Yeah.
It's not quite a foregone conclusion yet. Many people in the Telegraph are saying got a good chance.
Oh, of course.
I like.
There's lifeboats. There's always lifeboats, aren't there?
That's correct. Let me be your lifeboat. Famously under supplied lifeboats. I suppose musically anything by Vivaldi or MF Doom.
Oh,
Food, no thank you.
Okay, yes.
And last words. Well, if the Titanic were going down, I would be going down with the ship. I'm not a woman, and contrary to the suit shops I frequent, I'm not a child. But I would remain on the ship as the lifeboats went off to safety. And my final words, as the music of the band played and eventually stopped playing, and you just heard the sound like a... I'd like to say something poignant. My only regret is that I have just one life to give for the Titanic. I also regret buying a ticket for the Titanic.
Well, Rishi, what beautiful final words that was before you got suffocated by the cold, icy deep. Now, are you worried at all, Prime Minister, the fact that all the papers seem to be endorsing Labour? Is this deeply humiliating for you? Are you ashamed? Do you cry at night?
I am ashamed, but I don't think that's anything to do with the papers. It's been with me for years. But, the papers are very welcome to say what they like. They have freedom of expression. We have free press. And I've got a thick skin. They can say what they like about me. They can say that I've got no hope. They can say that I'm off jetting off abroad as soon as the votes are counted, and they can say that all they like, and it's not true. I'll be here all weekend, and then we'll see. Got a few engagements lined up, and I will stick around if when I'm voted back in.
Really?
I'll get the job done. I've got my guys. They said they're going to stick around too. But they can say what they like, because deep down I know that I am loved.
Oh,
You are
that's
very loved.
nice,
That's
isn't it?
a very
Who
sweet
does
and
love you, though?
Unexpected message from you there, Prime Minister.
I feel loved every day.
I do have a question, and I hope it's not too close to home. I'm aware you're under a lot of stress right now. But
Which home?
I was what? Oh, well, that's a good question. I meant
sorry. I see what you mean. Oh, right. Yes.
in your heart. Right. You see, I was watching an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer last night, and it brought to mind your situation, because in a way you are Cordelia Chase, the sure winner of Homecoming Queen. It's prom night, but Buffy Summers has put herself up against you. And now the two of you are going head to head, literally duking it out. And of course, all the while, you may have overlooked that there is a third option. There could be someone else that steps in to win the prom queen position. So what would you do?
Who else?
I believe he's talking about Willow.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it isn't Willow that wins, but it could be someone like that steps in. I think it's a lesser-known Sunnydale student. But what would your response be if indeed it were not Keir Starmer to usurp you, but someone else? Could this lead to a bonding? Would you start a podcast with Keir?
Well, perhaps... We'll see about that. I don't know if anybody would want to listen to me on a podcast. That'd be like having some war criminal trying to launder their reputation with a sort of
Rishi,
matey.
no. Prime Minister, don't do yourself down. I think a lot of people would love to see a podcast with you and Keir.
Yes, yeah.
Another person you could do a podcast with, Prime Minister, is Boris Johnson. Now, how do you feel? He came back on the trail, he endorsed you. He did sort of endorse you without sort of talking about you, but he still endorsed you by being there, and that must have been fun.
It was wonderful to have Boris along with us this week. We are putting on a united front. Boris is mucking in. David Cameron's mucking in. Everyone's getting behind Rishi, even if they don't quite say my name. But I think that's just because Boris doesn't remember who I am. But
Lovely. Would you have him back in government if you got in?
If the price was right. With Boris, I think we'd have to have more of a matey comedian podcast. I'd be the uptight one, always trying to keep things in line.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it Have a Word.
Have a parliamentary word.
Yeah.
So I would be... So Boris would be the Adam Rowe, is that correct?
Yes.
And who would be the Eshaan Akbar?
On that. I mean,
Well, you could guess, Eshaan.
who was Eshaan Akbar to the podcast?
I don't know who any of these people are.
Their favourite guest. I mean, that would be, I don't know, who's everyone's favourite guest? Probably Kenneth Clark or Kemi Badenoch. I don't know.
Oh, fantastic! We'll get Kemi in.
Rishi, I have another suggestion. You could do My Spads Wrote a Porno.
Oh,
bit of fun.
Very nice.
That's a bit of a naughty one.
Very cheeky.
I'm no stranger to cheekiness.
What about My MP Ghosted Me?
My MP put some bets on. Lovely. Nothing's off the table really. Podcast, movies. I'd love to buy some sports cars. But failing that, I'll be Prime Minister if you really want me to.
Well, there's still time. There's still time, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, I must ask, because I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't. What were you thinking? What were you thinking by leaving D-Day earlier and leaving all those little old men who had fought for our country, leaving them, sitting there, wondering what was going on? Why did you do it? Why did you do it, Prime Minister?
Well,
what were you thinking?
I knew that you would ask this because I have a very good press team. And I knew you would ask this, but I must say, I left in the spirit of D-Day. D-Day was about standing up for one's country and doing what's right for one's country. And that's what I did. I had to do what was right by my country. I'm not a Frenchman. I wish I was. I love Paris. 1997, school trip. It was fantastic. We met some French girls. They mugged my friend Kenneth. But I'd love to be French, but I'm not. I'm English. I'm the Prime Minister of Great Britain, the UK, and I had some emails, and it was very boring, and the old men kept touching my hand.
Prime Minister, I think the one question that we've been overlooking up to this point is a far more personal question for you. It's about your stationery. You're going to have to get a lot of new stationery. You're not going to have, from the desk of the Prime Minister at the top of it anymore. But along with that bittersweet sorrow comes the excitement of the back-to-school fun. So is there anything that you're thinking you might get from W.H. Smith? Anything that you've already spotted? A new protractor? Maybe some rubbers?
Right, yeah. Might treat myself to a new book bag, briefcase.
Great. Love it.
Some new shoes. I don't really know how it's happened, but I've gone down 3 shoe sizes in all the stress.
Have you?
Yes. Yeah. It's. I don't know if I should see a doctor about this, but my feet are getting smaller.
I don't think that's a thing.
My fingernails are very brittle. I've got this ringing in my ears.
Do you think all of you are getting smaller?
It sounds a bit more like a witch's curse than a regular medical issue.
Yeah.
I'm sure I haven't been cursed. I'm sure all of these terrible things are unrelated.
Prime Minister, are you sure? Because there are a lot of witches about. They do like to curse people.
Well, witches are a very important part of our economy. And they do very good work.
Do you have any? Do you have any favourite witches? My personal favourite is, of course, Sabrina, the teenage.
Oh yeah, Sabrina, Mildred Hubble.
Oh, very good.
Good choice.
See, Prime Minister, I really think we're showing your human side in this interview. I think we're doing a wonderful job.
I am a human.
You are a human, and I think people will see that now, where before they weren't so sure.
I'm a human, and it's for want of a better phrase, it's your last chance to get in bed with me. You don't want to get someone this dishy let slip away. Leave that Starmer at the door. He'll be around. You can have a go on him in 5 years' time.
I feel
Keep
like
on
this is
with
Rishi is
salacious now,
hand human.
I am a human. Let it be known that I am a human. I have a heart of blood.
Wow.
Heart of
He is
Starmer.
Hanuman. He is Hanuman.
That's correct.
I feel like
So
most humans
moving.
don't have to proclaim that they're human so much.
Hanuman.
I mean, most humans just have to click 3 squares that have bicycles in, and that sort of proves it.
I've never successfully completed one of those captures. They don't seem to work on me.
Hanuman.
That's fair enough.
Hanuman.
Now, Prime Minister, I also wanted to ask you about your official photographer. He took a photo of you sort of by an exit sign, and I just wondered, does he hate you?
Yes, that's a very that's a funny point for you to bring up. No, not at all. He takes lots of fantastic photos of me, and sometimes I will stand in front of exit signs. He very kindly. You've not seen the other photos he's taken in front of me, in front of other signs. He took a photo of me set in front of a sign saying "hero." He took another photo of me in front of a sign saying "disabled toilet vacant." And nobody ever brings up those. It's only when it fits into the narrative that those are brought up. He took a wonderful series of boudoir shots for me. They really helped me with my self-esteem at a particularly rough week. And when this is all over, he's going back to his job at Liquid Stevenage.
Right. Do you know what it is, Prime Minister? It's the left wing media. They won't print those. They won't print them. They'll only print the ones with exit signs.
Well, that's why it's such a joy to join you, Harriet, on this show. It's lovely to not feel like I'm being tripped up, and we can actually get to the real issues and the real serious questions.
Yes, we've done many of those today. Talking of serious questions, now, Eshaan, you have a bit of a connection with the Prime Minister, don't you?
I do indeed, because Prime Minister, I don't know if you're aware, but there is a TV show. Well, there was a TV show called Spitting Image, and I was given the honour of playing you. I did an impression of you on the show.
Oh, very good. Can we hear it? Can we hear it now?
Oh,
yes, sure, yes.
I was hoping you might
it's
agree
going to blow
this,
you away,
Prime Minister, because I don't know if you're aware, but celebrities doing impressions of other celebrities to their face is great clickbait. I mean, it works on the Graham Norton show. It really just does the numbers. So very excited to see this.
I'm very excited.
Okay, I think maybe the Prime Minister says something, and then Eshaan, you start to say something back in his voice.
Okay.
All right. In my opinion, the real prom queen should have been Willow, or Spike, or Giles.
In my opinion, the real prom queen should have been Willow, or Spike, or Mike.
It's like you're the same person. It's exactly the same.
It's like there's 2 of them.
I suppose it's all right.
I can't.
I suppose it's all right.
And you did that on television, did you?
You did that on television, did you?
It's actually a very famous show,
brilliant.
Prime Minister. Millions of people have watched this, and that's what you sound
And
like.
the only
He's
person
being
they could
you.
find to do Rishi Sunak's voice was Eshaan.
Yes.
Just a little surprising. I'm just amazed that somebody would go on a relatively popular, well-broadcasted program with no impression at all of the Prime Minister, instead just doing their regular voice.
It's
All right.
wild.
It's not his regular voice, Prime Minister, it's your voice.
Hello, I'm Rishi Sunak.
Wait, who's saying that? Is it Eshaan or is it the Prime Minister? I just don't know.
This will make us go viral for sure.
Yeah, I think this is really...
I'm feeling pretty
I'm calling an election on the 4th of July.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant.
It's raining.
Quite hurtful, if I'm honest.
Eshaan, I might get you to record my answer phone message, because that really is something. It really is.
Hello, you've reached Brendan's voicemail. I'm Rishi Sunak. I collected voicemail messages.
Martin, I'll do it. I'm right here.
Oh, Martin!
No, Prime Minister,
yes.
yours is less convincing, I think, than I think Eshaan's impression of you is actually sort of better than your
Yes.
voice.
Well, that's good then. Well, maybe I should have you in the cabinet, Eshaan. We can.
Oh, get me
You
out
can
of
do
this
all the
cabinet.
phone
I'm
calls.
Rishi Sunak.
Yes, very good.
He's trapped in a cabinet now.
Very good.
Oh, this is great.
Prime Minister, it's been an absolute ball having you on. Thank you so much.
It has been wonderful. This could be goodbye in this incarnation.
Well, you know what they say: the only poll that counts is the exit poll.
Yes, that's right. But even regardless of what happens, I really have no intention of seeing you again.
Oh, what a funny joke. So it is election day, and all that's left is for NonCensored to endorse a party. There is everything at stake for our country in this election. Freedom of speech, a free press, and freedom for our journalists to expose hypocrisy and wrongdoing, but also not freedom for protesters who should all be locked up, especially Just Stop Oil. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has many policies which we support. The compassionate Rwanda plan to stop the boats, his commitment to not put up taxes by £5 million, the ban on letting people go into the toilets they want. They shouldn't be allowed to go into the toilets they want. They should be only allowed to go into the toilets we want. They shouldn't. It is evil. Rishi Sunak putting the brakes on the made-up climate change. His long-held and principled commitment to our Brexit freedoms, of which there are so many freedoms of Brexit. He has done his best to right the mess he inherited, but the insurmountable problems faced by the Tories is that over the course of 14 often chaotic years, they have become divided, more interested in fighting themselves than running the country. The Tories allowed the blob, trans activists and lefty lawyer do-gooders and judges to run rings around them, thwarting sensible policies. Lock all the judges up, I say. Lock up the lawyers, lock the do-gooders and stop the boats. Taxes have ballooned. Plotting against the leadership has become endless. Poor Boris Johnson persecuted. Poor Liz Truss driven out. And naughty gambling have broken public trust. To put it bluntly, the Tories are annihilated. They need a period in opposition to be happy and strong and share stories round a campfire and drink and frolic and have a sort of orgy of Tory love which can finally bring an end to all these years of internal warfare. It is time for a change. So we at NonCensored say, vote for Labour, even though they are shit. They do not want to stop the boats. Taxes will go up by £10 million. They're going to cast out children from private schools. They're going to shoot lords from the House of Lords if they are over 90 years of age. Sir Keir Starmer, an ex-Remainer, now talks of wanting closer ties with Brussels, which could mean sacrificing some of our newly won Brexit freedoms. Sir Keir wants to take us back into the EU. He says he doesn't, but he does. He is plotting our downfall. He is evil. He will not press the red button. He once stood next to Jeremy Corbyn. He has a mountain to climb. No one likes him very much. None of us like him. However, by not committing to anything in particular and being heroically vague, Sir Keir Starmer has won the right to take charge. We will hold Labour to account without fear or favour, but we wish them every success. We endorse Labour.
I'm still here.
Well, that's it for this episode. We'll be back tomorrow with current Leader of the Opposition, Sir Keir Starmer. So in the meantime, like, subscribe, tell your friends, follow the Out of Context Non-Censored Blue Sky account, and keep those questions coming to noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com. With thanks to Rosie Holt, Brendan Murphy, Eshaan Akbar, Rajiv Carrier, and Ed Morrish. I'm Harriet Langley Swindon, and we'll be back tomorrow with more Non-Censored.